As developers, and especially game developers, having strong logical reasoning and creative thinking when programming is extremely important for success. Beyond enabling us to create good and functional projects, it also helps maintain motivation within a project. For most of us, we first started getting into the world of programming through some tutorial. And the most important thing at that stage was to achieve the same result as shown in the tutorial. Back at those early stages of learning, hardly anyone ever worried about things like best practices for implementing a certain mechanic or creating a specific algorithm. We were just satisfied with getting the exact same functional result. And without proper attention, we might eventually become the kind of programmer who always reuses the same solutions. At no point is there any real interest in trying to develop further or in trying to be more creative with your solutions. And this can be discouraging when we get involved in more challenging and complex projects, especially in projects that are far outside what we are usually used to working on. So in this video, I want to share with you some practical tips that help me improve my programming logic, and that help me become the kind of confident programmer who doesn't shy away from difficult projects. The very first tip, and definitely the most important thing, is to have a positive attitude and curiosity. There's no point in talking about developing your programming logic or improving your programming practices if you don't really intend to dive deeper into these concepts. So the first thing you need is the interest to explore these topics deeper. In his book, The Factory of Digital Cretins, a French scientist really conveys this perspective. He explains that this is the first time in the history of humanity that we are seeing the next generation, that is, the children, having a lower IQ than the previous generation, meaning their parents. And that's frightening, but at the same time that it scares us, it should also motivate us. In a world that's increasingly superficial, like a puddle of water, it's very easy for us to stand out. We just need to be as deep as the ocean. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that what everyone else does is what you should do. Information like this shows that sometimes what everyone does is actually wrong. I recommend that you read the book. It will definitely broaden your perspective on this topic. But the first tip for you to develop good programming logic is don't get complacent as a programmer. Have that drive, always keep that interest in seeking more. And the second tip I want to share here is do different things both inside and outside your field. What do I mean by that? Doing different things outside of what is our usual field of study, what we're used to, is really good for creativity and helps our brain function much better. So, the book explains the idea that our brain actually functions more effectively when both of its sides are engaged. Different things. If you're a programmer, maybe it's beneficial for you to learn how to paint. Engaging in something entirely different helps your brain see things from a completely new perspective. That's what I'm doing. Recently, I started learning piano. It's been a dream of mine since I was a child, and it's been an incredible experience. Try to do different things. Don't just stick to what you already know how to do. For instance, if you program games using a certain engine, maybe try using a different engine for a week, because we really have to agree that when you're programming with an engine, you're not exactly learning how to program in general, you're just learning how to use a particular tool. I'm not saying to just do random things out there. Do something that fills your heart with joy. Something that maybe, because of the hectic rush of daily life, you stop paying attention to it, but you've always been curious about it. The third essential tip I really want to share with every one of you today is this. Try to understand these things on a conceptual level. And it might seem obvious, but in practice, there are a significant number of programmers who just repeat things they've already seen. They are unable to fully capitalize on the benefits of that programming structure. They only understood the practical part, learned the implementation, but didn't grasp the concept behind it. What do I mean by that? I've been studying randomness, which is a very important concept in games because it helps make the game more fun and unpredictable. And during these studies, I saw that using arrays is essential to introduce a greater sense of randomness. So look at how things opened up. When we learn about arrays, they're used to store data like days of the week, data like months of the year, data like averages to later display on the screen. So that's what stuck. That when we're faced with a situation where we need to store some data, some composite data, months of the year, days of the week, or others, we think of arrays, but there may be other circumstances where they could be used. So my understanding regarding arrays is now significantly broader. They're not just for storing values. In many other aspects, I can effectively utilize arrays. Understanding the practical side is actually quite different from understanding it conceptually. When we understand the practical side of things, we can even implement it, but it will always be in the same situations. But when we understand the concept behind it, we can use it in many other circumstances, at various other times when, under normal conditions, we might not have had the insight to use it. And how can you do this in practice? Take a topic that you might need to delve a little deeper into, right? Imagine, for example, data structures. How can you use them? Did you really understand them conceptually? Pick a topic during the week, set aside a day to study that topic, and you'll see how many things you can do. And when you study, don't just focus on the practical part, which is coding. Try to actually read more about its various uses and its great importance, so that you can truly imagine how you might use it yourself. Create a video game. Each game is its own game. Each game has a different mechanic. Each game has a different number of entities, so your programming structure has to be different. So your logic gets much better. It might be good to create without a game engine, because game engines are tools that make things easier. And if your goal is to develop your logic, creating without a game engine is much better, at least once. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm really happy about that. I really hope you're enjoying the way I try to share my ideas about the world of programming. Because I believe that as developers, it's not just the technical side that ensures the project's completion. There are many behavioral aspects and soft skills that also have a very big impact on the final result. And if the channel reaches 100 subscribers, I'll release the project file, the executable, and also the well-commented source code of this project that's being developed in the video, the Tetris project, along with well-prepared documentation. So you can pick up a few useful things, whether it is for your own study or simply out of curiosity, man. So that is the challenge ahead of us. And I truly hope you all can give us your full support. So if you sympathize with the noble goal of this channel, I ask that you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and that way I'll know that someone enjoyed this content so I can keep going. The channel is new, but I want you all to give me a real boost so I can see that what I bring to you has some value.